I am taking a brand new account all the way to 2000 rating. We are almost at 1200, and in this video I will show you some interesting strategies you can use to win more chess games. So we are playing with the white pieces. I will actually play pawn to e4, which I usually never play, but I am doing this because I want to demonstrate a particular strategy here, and also to show you that even without opening preparation, because I honestly don't really know much about playing e4, you can still win. They were playing the French, and now I am very confused because of course in the opening all we have to do is fight for the center, put some pawns in the center, put a piece in the center. I'm very confused by this is literally the opposite of what I would recommend you. But still, your opponents are going to play crazy moves like this, and you still need to be able to figure out something. So I'm going to develop my bishop. This is always a very bad move if the pawn can still move forward, because basically your bishop will just get attacked and you will have to move it. And you basically didn't accomplish anything. And we can already castle. So we are in a decent position. Okay, so what am I looking for here? I am basically looking to further develop my pieces first before I do anything. And my opponent is basically looking to move as many pawns as they can, apparently. So there are two plans. I think pushing e5 could be interesting, since we can take away a square from the knight and also open up our bishop a little bit. Or we could develop our dark squared bishop. Probably e3 is the only square it can go to. Here it would, in some variations, be attacked. And of course here we would be giving it away for free. b4 is also possible, but it's a pawn push. In general, I don't like pawn pushes if I don't have to. I will actually play this knight d2 first. I'm not 100% sure yet if I want to block my e-file. Because blocking the e-file also blocks my access to the enemy king with my rooks and queen. So I wanted to do this first, because now I can actually still, in some variations, for example here, further develop my knight, attack this bishop, basically win a move, and let's just see what they are going to play. And I already have quite better development than my opponent. Now it's just, how do you find a middle game plan? So the first thing I'm always looking at is basically improving pieces. Still, this dark squared bishop has not really moved, so that is something I am looking at. Because my opponent is playing such strange moves, at some point probably a pawn push could also be the best plan. But I don't really see any pawn push. Well, I think maybe this could be interesting. So if we push, they take. We can take with the knight or the bishop and we are fine. And the reason why I'm thinking about this is because if we can keep this pawn blocked and this pawn blocked, this light squared bishop will never be part of this game. So my opponent is playing very bad moves. So I'm trying to punish him by keeping his pieces out of the game. This piece will be out of the game. This knight will probably be out of the game. And these pieces are also not really doing much. Okay, so they are preparing to castle, which is not going to be the best plan, because we already have two bishops lined up basically to attack. But how do we continue here? a4, a5 is always a plan in these types of positions, just attacking, winning a tempo. But I'm more so looking at a way to attack the king side, but I don't really immediately see anything. It might be interesting actually to drop back the bishop and put the queen in front of the bishop, so I could potentially go for a checkmate. So that is what I am going to try to play. Depends a little bit on what he does, but we are going to see. And he moves the knight in, which I didn't expect at all. It's a confusing move. Usually moves like this are also wrong, but I have to see if there's a way to punish it. Playing c4 destabilizes my entire structure. So yeah, I think for now I don't have a way to punish it. His knight also can't really do anything from that square, so there's no benefit for him. We can basically develop the queen and also prevent him from ever castling, which I think is a good plan in any position. I might at some point play a3 to guard this square, so we can play c4 and basically roll all the pawns in the center, push all of them forward, and yeah, start an attack. I'm curious if they will see this or if they will just castle and give me a free checkmate. But you see, I'm basically trying not to do too much. Usually this is the pawn structure I go for with white if I can. That is very confusing. So this knight goes here and then the other knight goes there. Interesting choice of moves. Probably he wants to at some point play this c5 push. Okay. If we ever push this, the knight goes here, so that's not great. If we ever take, They can take with the pawn or the queen. Things I'm thinking about here is still developing the bishop, but I don't really see a plan. Or maybe playing a3 so I can push this pawn to c4. So I think that could be a good plan. They are trying to somewhat activate the bishop, but I don't think it's ever really gonna work. And it seems to me like they also trapped their own knight by playing such strange opening moves. So of course, if I do have a way to win material, I will start pushing pawns. But black is basically not playing any opening, basically not doing anything, just causing troubles for himself, not putting pawns in the center, and then you will usually get something like this, where all of a sudden you are immediately losing. And the way we did this was basically, with every single move, I was thinking about restricting my opponent's options. And this is a very good plan if your opponent doesn't fight for the center. If they don't fight for the center, they will usually allow you to gain space, which means to push pawns forward and grab hold of more squares, as we are doing. We are attacking all those squares in their camp. And then it's quite easy to just at some point win material. So this is basically already a pawn, a knight for a pawn. But look at that. I was a little bit too quick. I was a little bit too quick and a little bit too lazy with calculation. And now we get this counterattack, which is very interesting. That means I will have to move my queen and I will lose my rook. But in any case, I am still gaining material here. But it's just not really what I expected. The best plan would have probably been to move the rook first. And we still had the same tactic. But now we have to move the queen. I'm thinking about going inside his position. But it can also be a dangerous venture, if you know what I mean. It could go wrong at some point if he tries to trap my queen, but I don't really see a way he's going to do it. So let's see if we can do something here. At the end of this line, we still gained 6 points of material in exchange for our pawn and our rook. But yeah, we could have played it a little bit more carefully. But that's of course the difficult part with talking and playing at the same time. I've noticed during many of these videos I miss tactics that I would never miss if I was focused on the game, but I'm more so focused on trying to explain in a different language what I'm thinking about. But we are still in a good position. He probably just has to recapture this so that he is at least equalizing a little bit in material. So I'm thinking if there is any way for us to start an attack, that would be the best plan. But I don't really see anything. I think it might be a plan to try and push a little bit in the center. I still need to develop some pieces. The king is still in the middle of the board. Putting the queen here will always be a good idea. That doesn't really do anything, I think. So we are going to activate the rook. And I'm looking if there is a way to attack this king. He is probably going to try to castle, which makes sense because now his rooks are connected and he can try to attack my queen as well. We are going to open up this file. And my plan was actually to sack the rook and then win this rook, but it's no longer possible. This looks like it could be something. But at the same time, he can take it with the knight. Let's see what we can do. In any case, he is in more trouble than I am. But is there a win here? Is there a clear win? Is there a simple plan? I'm not so sure if there is an immediate simple plan. The problem is many of my pieces are actually out of the game. For example, this knight is not doing anything right now. So that's a problem. This bishop is also not really doing anything. So I think I'll just have to switch over and start attacking the king this way. Also, I have to be careful. I never trap my own queen. So let's just make sure that doesn't happen immediately. And now I have to see if I can get this knight in the game. but I honestly don't see any way because this will always be getting stuck. This push never works. A trade of queens, he can force this. It also damages his structure. So we are winning a pawn. I think he played a very terrible opening and we probably misplayed at some point. Or this game is more complex than I thought it is. But we are still winning. In any case, you will always win this as white. Of course, unless you make a huge blunder, but usually you should always win this. If you look at this pawn structure by black, yeah. We can start picking apart the pawns. The only problem is somehow my knights are completely out of the game. They cannot really do anything. Okay, so he is doing a simple one move attack. I think I want to keep my bishop on this diagonal. Yes, he can push, but doesn't matter. That would actually be helping, because then I activate my knight. And still this pawn is falling. But I think we might have missed something, because I was 100% sure we had a completely winning position, and then suddenly it was a little bit more complicated than it had to be. So probably we missed something. But white is still winning. We have the double attack with the two bishops. The rook and the knight can also participate now, so he is basically helping with these pawn pushes. And now this plan of his is completely gone as well. So I'm still looking at this pawn, but the thing is, with moves like this, you can play this at any moment during the game, so there's never a reason to rush and play this immediately. So I'm just gonna wait for now. Now there is a reason to play it immediately, because we also attack the rook. So it's basically with a tempo. His best move is probably to pin his own knight, I think. Or to move back the rook. But then, I was gonna say, now I can maybe go in with the knight, but of course my bishop is gone. So that doesn't work. One funny move, I think, is actually to just attack this pawn as well. And he is having such a hard time to keep all of his pawns on the board. And now I think we can attack the rook and then attack the knight. It's important that we don't attack the knight first, because otherwise he could have pushed the pawn. But now if we attack the rook, he basically has to move it, and then we attack the knight, we pin it as well. Unless if he goes here, which is fine. Now I think I need to activate my bishop again. And I still want to get this knight back into the game as well. This will never be a good plan, because basically he attacks and you always lose a bishop in those positions. You never want to put two bishops in front of each other if there are rooks that can attack them, or queens. That would be very easy for him to win. But still, his pawn structure is all over the place. So he wants to trade the rooks, which is fine. He doesn't really get access to my back rank because of my knight anyways. He takes it with the king. That's probably not the right move. If he takes this, we also get a check with the bishop. Yes. Now I really have to activate this knight. I think that's the biggest priority, but I still don't really see a way to activate it. Material is still in our advantage, but it's not an easy position. I think I'll start by activating the king. And guarding all the entry squares so he cannot enter with his rook. Maybe block the file with my bishop, so I can use my king. My knight is the biggest problem I have. This entire position, I think my knight is... I basically am playing a game with one less knight, almost. Yep, that's fine. I think I have to throw in some checks as well. And maybe b4. Let's play b4. And this would be winning a piece. Don't know if he will see it. He can always push his pawn. And then I can try to activate my knight. But if he doesn't see it, well, if he doesn't see it, it actually still doesn't really work because he can push. Okay, activate the knight. This pawn is also weak. And then we can probably do a team up, I think. Did I miss something? No. I had been calculating for a while that he can swing over this rook. So I was curious, but still this works. Yep, that also works. And now... I think now is the moment I have to do the team up. Let's just move this. He's probably gonna take. And we can win the pawn in the center by pushing. All of these squares are covered except that one, but we can do this check. Take this. Protect. And he is trapping his own rook as well. That's a free rook. He pushed it. I knew. I was thinking about the pre-move, and then my first thought was he is just gonna push it, and my pre-move is gonna be useless. Yep. All right. He resigned, but he also didn't have any time left. But I think he just played extremely well for a 1100 rated player. It's almost unbelievable how well he played. 25 best moves, 19 excellent moves, 14 good moves. He basically almost didn't make a single mistake for a 1100 player. So I had a quick look at the game. Basically, the entire opening was fine, everything was fine. As you can also see with the evaluation bar, white is always winning. And this plan that I had with c4 and then grabbing the knight was the best plan. So it's like I said, I didn't calculate this counterattack, so I should have been a bit more careful. But still, white is just completely winning in this line. It's +4. And it's basically +4 the entire game. I did miss a couple of things in the endgame, but I pretty much didn't really make any mistakes. I didn't make a single blunder, only one mistake. So, yeah, I played extremely well, but he also played so well. Um, it's strange. It's strange that he is playing so well. But 1160 player, I think he played a very good game. That's it.